Why is there suffering? I remember when I was in the Israeli army, we were up in the Golan Heights, we were lying down in the tent in the afternoon, just resting, and just had an exercise, and we're lying in the tent in shorts, t-shirts. A guy leans over and he says, Tagidli, Becher, tell me, Becher, he says, why do people suffer? So I said to him, now you want to know? He says, yeah. I said, look, I need to give you a few introductions to this. I need to give you some philosophical background, etc. He says, don't give me introductions. He says, just tell me. I said, look, this is a book. This is an idea about which there's an entire book of the Bible. The book of Job is about this. Every religious philosopher, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, has written volumes about this. And you expect me, in the space of 2 minutes, to explain the issue of suffering, lying in shorts in the Golan Heights in a hot afternoon, just like that without any introduction. Is that correct? And he said, yeah, better. Sure, totally. Right, so we're going to try and do that anyway. Okay, why is it suffering? First and foremost, we believe the creation of the world, God created a world in which he wanted the human being to actually be able to do something. That is to say, to exercise free will, to be like God, meaning to be creators, to be active, not to be lab rats. To be a lab rat would mean a world where every time I do something good, I immediately have pressed the appropriate lever and I get some food pellets. Right? When I do something bad, I press the appropriate lever or inappropriate lever and I get bipolar electroconvulsive therapy. Basically, God has created a world not for lab rats, but for sentient, thinking human beings. He wants us to be like him, to have a relationship with him. But to have a relationship with God requires that I have an exercise of my free will. I be sort of self-contained to a great degree. We can't be as self-contained as God, because God is ultimately is infinite and he contains everything within him. But as self-contained, as independent as a creature can be, is what I would like to achieve and what God wants us to achieve. But in order to achieve that requires that we be put in an environment in which we have free will. Free will means an environment in which not necessarily do I always have pleasure when I make the right decision, and not necessarily does someone always suffer when they make the wrong decision. In other words, a free will environment requires a certain amount of apparent randomness, that is to say, a certain amount of whereby it's not clear, it's not obvious. There's not just a direct cause and effect between my moral success and my physical success. And therefore, there is going to be suffering in this world. There is going to be the possibility of free will having power to do good, free will having power to do bad, free will having real power to alleviate suffering, free will having real power to create suffering. It's a disturbing thought, but free will ultimately means that this world has to be so to speak, it has to appear at least naturalistic. The enzyme, the bacteria, the DNA defects, the bullet has no idea how much money you've given to charity. And the rules of nature don't take that into account. When divine providence intercedes, as it does frequently, right, then it takes those things into account. But it's done on a subtle level. It's not done on a blatant level. And it's not done in a level that eliminates our free will. So there will be suffering for that reason. Also, suffering sometimes produces benefits. It may show other people how to develop noble characteristics. It may develop within myself noble characteristics. It may sometimes be a punishment for something that a person has done in the past, something that you may not know about. It may be a reward to an evil person, but a reward for something good that they have done. People sometimes do good even when they don't really mean it, right? But so there's reward and punishment that goes on levels that we don't always see or understand because we don't know all the skeletons in someone's closet, or by the same token, we don't know the merits in someone's closet. A famous story, of a Jew in, I think it was Warsaw before the Second World War, a guy who had a reputation as being a horrific miser, used to turn people away all the time who came collecting charity. And it was interesting, when he died, very few people came to his funeral, and no one gave him a nice eulogy. He was not a well-liked person. He had a lot of money, but he was a miser. But what was interesting is, very soon after his death, people started coming to the local rabbis and saying, you know what, someone used to always leave bread for me every Friday afternoon before Shabbat. It's not happening anymore. What happened? Right? Someone else would come along and say, the orphanage used to get these donations of clothes. They stopped happening now. What's going on? Suddenly, it dawned upon people. They started to put the pattern together that this guy they thought was the biggest lowlife, total creep, complete louse, etc. Right? They thought this guy was a complete miser. It turns out he had secretly been supporting charities. He'd secretly been helping people. Right? Why he did it this way, I don't know, but he did it secretly. And only after his death did people realize. So we don't know the good that lurks in the hearts of men, and we don't know the evil that lurks in the hearts of men, or women for that matter, right? And therefore, it is something which we reward and punishment, something we have to understand as well. There are times also where the suffering is there in order to elevate, perfect a person. Sometimes suffering has very good effects on a person. It makes them focus less on the ego and the self, maybe focus more on others. It makes them defocus on things which are peripheral to life and focus on things which are good in life. It may be that the person totally righteous in and of themselves, never hurting a soul, but maybe they're in a position to influence the world and they didn't do so. Maybe they need to have a wake-up call in something like that. So there are many, many numerous reasons that could be for suffering, whether it be past, like reward and punishment, whether it be future, like development of good character traits, showing other people how to bear suffering, or it could be because that person's unique talents are brought out by the suffering, or it could be a result of the free will system that is the best system in the world. I'll just end with an analogy. You know, sometimes, you know, you may have people out there who have children or younger siblings may have taught them to ride a two-wheeler bike. We all know that you have to run along next to the kid on the bike. You have to hold the seat, or you hold that whatever. You hold something available, their ear, where it makes sure they don't, and run with them as they're riding the bike. You tell them, no, when the bike leans to one side, turn the wheel to that side. I know it's counterintuitive, but that's the best way. Of course, eventually, a good parent has to let go. When you let go of the bike, you know they're going to fall and scrape their knee, right? And you know that they're going to cry, etc. But a good parent will have to let go of the bike, because a good parent knows that it's much more important for the child to be able to ride the bike independently and to have the confidence to do so. That is more important than the fact they're going to get a scraped knee. A parent who never lets go of the bike, running behind their 16-year-old son on the way to high school, holding onto the bike, clutching your heart, right? That's child abuse, folks, right? The kid is humiliated. You've got to let go of the bike. God lets go of the universal bike, meaning he allows us to scrape our knee and to mess up, because it's much more important that the human being should develop to be godlike, to be good, to be moral, through our own attempts, through our own moral understandings, rather than through conditioning of a lab rat running through a gigantic Skinner maze. Thank you very much.